Sometimes you have to smile through the pain so that you can live through the sorrow. A beautiful song from Uchoko saying, smile. Thank you so very much, Choko. And that's how we open up today's episode. Hello, Dumelang Sambonani, South Africa. A very warm welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Maphala.
Dimlake okholosa kalubisi umadlongoti xa ucinga ke nge-childhood yakho uyeqhuluxhukwana kubuye ii-memories ezimnandi zobuntwana kodwa ke kwabanye oogxa bethu akubikho njalo because they get flashbacks from things they don't want to remember because of their past traumas. Bambi ke bayadlwengulwa omnye kanti akhule bona uyise xhaphaza unina nto leyo ke ekhokela ingxaki xa sele mdala. Sixovula loo ngxoxo ke namhlanje we are looking at how childhood traumas can turn to be adult struggles. Owona mbuzo ke siwubuzayo apha ekhaya kukuba should childhood trauma be treated as a public health crisis? We went to the streets and this is what you had to say.
Trauma is actually a big issue we are not conscious of because it turns us into the people that traumatize us.
A lot of struggles that come with adulthood are based on the trauma that you experienced as a child, and if you don't deal with it, it can impact your workplace, your family, a lot of things.
At times you find that a child would start presenting odd behaviors such as being oddly quiet more than usual.
We grow up in environments yokuthi umama no baba don't really give you the safe space to talk about your feelings and everything, and you don't know how to address them as you grow older.
I believe like the abused becomes the abuser. I mean like even like everybody who's bullied at the end of the day he becomes a bully.
Yes, it's unfortunate that you grew up in an abusive relationship, but for you to actually lay a hand on somebody else is your choice.
And they taught me about at some point you have to have a say, because if you don't have a say, it will affect our low way internally, and low way always leads to a dark place.
So yeah, into engenza ukuthi give like harsh on everything. Ngingakhona ukhendlila nje noma ngayiphi into. Wonke umphetho nje uyangihlula ukuthi umuntu ngendlile noma ngayini.
Kumele ngipretend like everything is okay even though I know ukuthi akulunganga yabo. But like because example
we should start talking about it more like you are doing right now. You know, we should start putting more initiative into talking about it. Even the relationships between Tina nabazali bethu.
I'm still going to therapy and working with my therapist, and she's telling me what to do and how it can help me, and activities to do basically to help me with the trauma.
But that thing like it lives inside you. I guess like into your pillar now like lifetime. It's more like lifetime scars.
People end up saying it's just life, but it's not life. People need help and they should get it.
Ukuzifosa kimi umuntu like mesingamthatha as a family because abantwana bakhe bebabangani babusisi bami. I was about 8 if not 9. Into yakhona yaqala as if like it's a mere thing, nokubona sadlala abantwana ekasi mingazi minganaklulu ukuthi into ekanje kwenzakala so up until esikolweni sebazoqala ukufundisa ngalezi zinto certain things ukuthi makusona sona so face izinto ezikanje ilapho ngaqala ukurealize ukuthi no man lo muntu lo kahle kahle lento mekayenza it was illegal. At that time I think I was in grade 10. By then ngina 16 ilapho ke ngikwazile ukukhuluma nomuntu ukuthi ngibatshele ukuthi kwenzakaleni. And then zamile ukumsearcha but then yazi kazi lincane liphinde libe likhulu futhi emuntwini momfuna mazohlala nalento ekanje idla wena at the end of the day abantu nyeke bakwazi ukuthi kwenzakalani life yakho kodwa wena owaziyo mara awukwazi ukuyikhipha like yonke lento le yabuya sengiba nama-suicidal thoughts. I've once tried ukuhamba ama-counselling, I've seen ama-social worker, and I feel like lezi zinto lezi azange zisebenze. Every minute la eMzansi abantwana bayarapiwa, amantombazana ayarapiwa. I wish like ukuthi abantu bangaba nonembeza mabathatha i-innocence yalowo muntu loyo basuke bacabangani bona. Lento le angisafuni ukucabanga ngayo because every time ngiba emotional ngicabanga ngayo nje why mina kodwa nako kuyasho vele like emhlabeni ukuthi bad things happen to good people.
Sure. So that was quite something, and just I think a lot of insight that was given from that particular insert that was prepared by Ukolosa, our producer here on Expressions. But to help me unpack this very important conversation, I'm joined by Dr. Watala as well as Cynthia Nyoni from Child Protection Services. And I think I want to hit the ground running, Dr. Watala. I mean, whenever we are talking about childhood traumas, I mean, being someone who's experienced it yourself, I want to find out, how has it manifested in your adulthood? How has it impacted you?
Okay, so it manifested in a way that I thought I was just a nice person. I was just okay with everything. I was just saying yes to everyone and everything. Little did I know that that was actually a trauma response, and it's called a fawn trauma response, which is called people pleasing, as we know. So because I was never given a platform with my parents or the caregivers to actually be myself, so I learned to adapt to certain personalities so that you can like me. So you have black hair, all of a sudden I also want to have black hair. You want to go out and have pizza, but I actually wanted to have seafood, and then all of a sudden I also want to have pizza. So I didn't have an identity. It was a crisis in that regard.
Mm-hmm. And Cynthia, I want to bring you onto this conversation. You're joining us via Zoom. I want to find out from you. I mean, we know that there are programs that you have in place to assist, you know, individuals who are battling or dealing with childhood traumas. But I think the pertinent question on the ground is whether we have enough resources, because what we uncovered from the insert that we had just shared now with the viewers is that even though social workers did come and assist, there were no follow-ups. You know, victims are even saying that there's not enough education for them so that they understand what kind of assistance they require. They're still going to churches for, you know, their mental health wellness. I mean, talk to us a little bit about that.
As the Department of Social Development, yes, we recognize that there is not sufficient resources or human capacity to deal with such complex issues. And we also acknowledge that dealing with this phenomena alone as a department would not yield positive results as we would anticipate normally when we are rendering services. However, we are not giving up the fight. We are saying that we need to extend ourselves as much as we can. Looking at the capacity of social workers on the ground, we have done a field research in 2017 working with PACT, where we also identified that there is a lack of response when it comes to dealing with issues of trauma. And however, to mitigate that situation, we have come up with a program which is solely designed for social workers to be able to be capacitated to deal with such.
And I just want to find out from you, and I think directing the poll question that we've actually posed is, should childhood trauma be treated as a public health crisis? Is it a crisis?
Now, as adults, we're having all these mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and other personality disorders due to childhood trauma. So it should become a very important aspect of public health services, because it will help a lot going forward within the youth and as they becoming adults.
And I think for you, Mobegedi Kogai, engage with us as on our social media platforms. Tell us about how much your childhood trauma has affected you and impacted you as an adult. We continue with this very important conversation after the break. You are watching Expressions.
The most painful thing I saw is when my father died in 2021. It was really hurting because he died in front of me. The other one is that my biological father, he doesn't support me. He doesn't care about us actually. I would like to ask him, why did he abandon us? Because he abandoned us for no reason. He didn't do him anything wrong. I was in grade 3 when that person took my mom, and I didn't like that. Then that's why I got angry. And then but as I'm shy, they took me to the office. I think some of them didn't take it serious, because when you tell them, they will say it was maybe just a once-off thing, or it was just a mistake, but they don't know how you felt during that event or that time. If they can put some psychologists or social workers in our community, that can help also. I would like to support my kids in everything they do. I will never abandon them for any reason.
Welcome back. You are still tuning into Expressions. Namhlanje ke siqovula ingxoxo etshisa umzi. Siyabuza apha ekhaya, should childhood trauma be treated as a public health crisis? Make sure that you interact with us on our social media platforms under igama elithi Expressions. Namhlanje ke to help me unpack this discussion, I'm joined by Angela, who's also a survivor. But ke I'm just going to read some of your comments on social media. Mama says, I'm unhappy. I wear a smile every day and stay up all night thinking of things I might have done wrong and how not to repeat them. I wish I could sleep, but when I do, I wake up in the middle of the night just to cry alone. Angela, welcome to Expressions. Are you good?
Yes, I am.
I'm great stuff. Give us a sense of what happened, the tuba ukula, your trauma, and how it manifested to you as an adult.
Well, when I was growing up, my mom and dad had difficulties together. So when my mom and dad split, my mom became more and more agitated with everything I did. Even the smallest, slightest mistake, when I didn't know what was going on, she would hit me for no good reason. And if I asked her why, she's like, I made her angry. So as a child, I grew up with the sense that I have to make sure she doesn't get angry at me. Or if she does get angry to the point where she becomes violent, I have to protect myself by running away. I even once jumped out of the window just to get away from my mother, because I was that scared.
And at the time,
no one wanted to be there. When I told them about what my mother was doing, they're like, no, this is how we were raised. Your mother is doing good. She's trying to show you the way. So no one tried to understand. And little by little, I was bottling it inside.
So definitely you would agree with the saying that says, hurt people, hurt people. And how did you break the cycle?
Later on in life, I think grade 12, when I tried suicide many times because I was afraid I couldn't really escape my mother, I found someone who, even though didn't know me, helped me go through it and showed me what actual love is and what isn't. Because I thought anxiety was love. I thought the fear I felt for someone was love. Until I later on realized that no, love does not have an emotion. That's why it's unconditional.
I mean, Angela, we live in a society where ingathi mhlambe feelings abantu looking at children and young people, they are discounted. I mean, what positive shifts would you like to see happening ingakumbi ekunxibeleleni abantu bahilisha on this childhood trauma?
I believe before anyone becomes a parent, they should understand the implications of being a parent, physically, mentally, and financially before making that step. And for people in school, right, teachers have to teach them on mental health and how to establish a good support system or understanding of their emotions. So it should start at home and at school as well.
And I can say maybe you have found your voice because you have a project running. Can you tell us more about that?
It's a personal development strategy that I created last year because my mental health was going down. Even though I left the house and I was at res, my mental state still stayed the same as though I was still there. So little by little, I tried to, first I extracted myself from anything religious because I know religion most of the time disregards how you feel for a greater purpose or puts in morals that don't really align to you. Because every moral or belief is behind some kind of experience in life. You can't develop anything without experiencing anything. So a belief is created through your experiences. So I'm trying to experience positive things to shift my negative experiences.
Wow, that is profound. I love it. And I mean, for our viewers watching at home, they're probably going through the same experience. You know, they're still battling. You know, they're still living in their past trauma. Athina mazwi enkuthazo so that they are also refueled.
Healing does not have an end because you always try to run towards the end. But when you get closer to who you are, you realize that there's more you don't know and there's more you need to touch on or there's more that you need to revisit. It's not bad if you say, I went through this last week and then it's coming back. It means that it still needs to be looked at again. So do not give up.
Angela, thank you so much for joining us and opening up. I mean, you are a true definition of strength and resiliency. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. So thank you for having me.
Right, Mbukeli wami yacho Angela into yokubana start over. You know, you can always rewrite a new story about your life. Ngoku ke masithi kwi evenkileni. We continue with the discussion with Ujeki on the other side.
Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions. You know, our poll question on a very important topic that we're discussing around childhood trauma is, should childhood trauma be treated as a public health crisis? That's the conversation that we're having today in studio. And of course, as a young person, we definitely want you to engage on this very important conversation that we're having. And of course, I'm still with Cynthia as well as Dr. Watala. And I think, Dr. Watala, because we want to wrap this conversation up, and I saw you nodding a lot when Angela was speaking about her experiences. I mean, why does her story sort of resonate so much with you? But most importantly, as an adult right now, how have you managed to overcome some of your childhood traumas?
Okay, so I was raised by a narcissist who was extremely abusive, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And everything that my mom did, I thought it was love. So when when Angela said that, I could resonate so much. So I went out there in the world seeking for the same love that I received as a child, and it wasn't actually love. And I had to unlearn that and relearn the new ways of actually what love is and how love is supposed to feel like with me versus what I experienced as a child. Young people don't understand what trauma is. A lot of people don't understand. They think that it is this hectic thing that happened, then I have childhood trauma. And we have to learn on how to regulate emotions. And one way of regulating emotion, I call it stop. I have a program where I teach my clients on how to stop. The stop is to bring yourself back to center, because when you have childhood trauma, you slip into the past versus you being in the present. So the stop teaches you on what are you seeing in front of you? What are the three things that you're hearing? What are the three things that you're smelling? This helps your brain regulate itself, and then your frontal cortex is able to release the strategies on, oh, okay, I don't have to act out. I don't have to be angry. Let me be still. Let me observe this person and actually listen.
When is anger a positive emotion? And maybe talk to us a little bit about, you know, how to heal and to survive childhood trauma.
You have to either walk with someone that is equipped a trauma-informed person. Because also in terms of therapy, not all therapists are trauma-informed. The person has to be trauma-informed because now they have a specialty in actually dealing with those issues and they understand how the mind actually works. If you cannot afford those type of services, start journaling. That will be your first platform to actually do something, because one other issue with people that have trauma is they can't say what happened to them. But if you can have a pen and a paper and write it out, you are able to release it. I have a module in my program where I call it the release letters, and this is actually stating and speaking about the things that happened to me and how that the perpetrator that victimized me saying what you wanted to say but never had the platform to actually say it. You don't give the letter to the person, you burn it.
From you, Cynthia, we just really want to just get some solutions, especially for the case studies that we highlighted on today's episode. I mean, you know, how do we get to a point where, you know, victims can actually be assisted, but I think most importantly that the correct services are provided for individuals who are struggling with childhood trauma?
It is not an easy road to walk when you have been exposed to trauma. However, the role of DSD, or the Department of Social Development, is you know, looking at how preventative can we be, because we can no longer respond, but we need to be proactive. We are looking at also capacitating parents with parental skills to be able to manage, you know, their children from a young age. Because parents themselves will recognize that they have dealt with trauma, hence now they are, you know, depositing the same trauma to their children, which now is a result of the abnormalities that we see in our communities. But in wrapping up, I would say that we really need to, you know, upscale our prevention programs, but work collaboratively with other professionals within the compendium of programs that we are rendering. For children as young as 10 to 14, we have your programs like your YOLO, your CHOMI, where we're looking at how children can be engaged to be able to talk about such incidences or traumatic experiences through play, working with other departments, of course, like your Department of Education has your German BAMS programs, but we're also saying that children themselves need to engage and participate in such conversations because we cannot design programs for them without them. So we have created those platforms.
I think these are just pearls of, I think, wisdom that could definitely help a lot of childhood trauma victims. And we hope that this is something that you can survive as a young person on the ground. So big thank you, Dr. Watala, and a big thank you to you as well, Cynthia. Kolosa, I mean, yeah, I think maybe let me call you up. I mean, it was such a difficult conversation to just obviously conclude and have in such a short space of time, but I think we definitely did leave young people with some nuggets, some gold nuggets. I love the part around journaling. I mean, write what is happening to you so you can be self-aware. Right?
And I mean, instead of being ashamed of what you've been through, you can be proud of what you've overcome. Yeah, thank you so much for opening up to us and being the light to those who need it.
Yeah. It's an absolute pleasure.
Right-ke mbukeli siqukumbela siqwela kanjalo inkqubo kodwa ke sinshinodwa abaphilisi bomoya featuring Ntsika Banqangile besithi makube njalo.
Sawuphalala njengamanzi uzosifundisa ukuthobela indlela zakho makube ngokuthanda kwakho Khosi kubele makube njalo makube njalo makube njalo